Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you're here. It's crazy that I'm saying this, but this is going to be my last reading vlog of the year. And then there's only 2 more videos of bookmas after this too. That is absolutely insane to me. Nevertheless, I'm very excited about today's video. It's getting to some books that I probably should have been getting to along this year, and we're only going to be reading books off of my 2024 TBR. This is the first year that I did this. I ended up choosing 24 books to be on my 2024 TBR to hopefully read by the end of this year. And if you've been keeping up with my videos where I update my reading journal, I have this cute little reading journal spread right here where I documented all the books that I wanted to read and all the books that I have read so far. I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 out of 24 books so far, so that means that I have 8 left. And we're going to be choosing from those 8 books today, so let's quickly go over them. The first book is Cricket Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. It has been a while since I read the first one, Six of Crows, in this duology. I think I rated it like a 3.5 or around there. It was the first time that I had really read a fantasy book with a lot of different point of views, and I think I was just a little bit overwhelmed at the time, and I just haven't really had the pull to grab this, but it's actually on my December TBR too, and for some reason I randomly had the want to pick up this book again, so hopefully December is the time for me to read this book. It's basically just a fantasy book, and it's the second in duology, and it's kind of about like a heist in a fantasy world. I've heard that if you didn't absolutely love the first book, that since you already know the characters and the basic storyline and everything, then you might like love this one. So I'm really hopeful. I know a lot of people absolutely love this duology. Next up is a classic. It's actually Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I've been wanting to read this for a really long time just because I've been wanting to watch the Timothée Chalamet version of the movie for a very long time. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. I'll be honest, don't think we're going to be reading in this video, and I really hope that I get to it by the end of the year. But the reason why I don't want to read it is because I read 2 classics, I think in like September or October, and I read them pretty closely together, and I just wasn't the biggest fan of both of them. That doesn't mean I'm never going to read a classic ever again. I just don't think that those 2 specifically like were for me, or maybe they will be for me if I read them at a different time. I do think Little Women might be different. I don't really know a whole lot about it. All I know is that it's a classic and I wanted to read it this year. But as you can see, I don't have a physical copy, so the good thing about that is that whenever I read it, I do get a little trophy to go on my bookshelf back here, and I can buy a pretty special edition, so who knows, maybe I will end up reading that. Then we have Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I have been waiting for the winter time to read this just because, I mean, like, look at the cover, it just gives the perfect winter vibes. It's a literary fiction about like a hockey town. I guess like the hockey scene is very popular there. That's all I know, and that it gives winter. So I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's also on my winter TBR. I've been wanting to get into Frederick Bachman's writing because I've heard amazing things about his books, so this would be my first book by him too, and I just want to get into more literary fiction. Next up, we have a book that has literally been on my TBR maybe 3 years, maybe 2.5. I don't really know at this point. It's been a long time. It's a classic OG book talk book, and that is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I don't know why I put this off so long. I think it's just a cozy, like, small town romance kind of vibe. I think sometimes whenever books are extremely hyped up, I get scared I'm not going to like them, or it's just not going to be for me, and then I get scared that people are going to yell at me in the comments and I get really nervous. But it's on this list because it's time. I need to get it off my TBR card. Then we have, I think, the only mystery that was on my list for the year, which was 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. Earlier this year, I read the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm very curious to see if I'm going to enjoy this too. This is a YA mystery, and it's on here because, like Beartown and me wanting to get into more literary fiction, I've been wanting to get into more YA mystery. Next up is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is her first book in the Lakefront Billionaire series, which is kind of interconnected with her Dreamland Billionaire series. I feel like I've read all 3 of those books kind of sporadically throughout my reading journey. The first one that I read, The Final Offer, was kind of more at the beginning. The second one I read this time last year, and then the third one I just recently read. I feel like the third one was my favorite. The first 2, I think, looking back at them, definitely weren't my favorite. I don't know if she's just maybe not an author for me, and that is like a-okay. Everybody has different reading tastes and different authors that they love, but since I did enjoy The Final Offer a little bit more, I feel like I might enjoy this one. I've heard really great things about this one especially. I've also heard good things about the second one in this little series. This is also on Kindle Unlimited, so if I do pick this one, I probably will be reading it on my Kindle. And I believe these are cutesy small town romances. I feel like I just put her books off though because they're just like really long for a romance book. Then we have another book that is on my December TBR, and that is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I have wanted to read this for so long. I've heard amazing things about Hannah Bonham Young's writing, and I have a feeling that she could possibly become like a favorite new author. And then the 8th and final book on this list, which is a big one, is the first Crescent City book in the Crescent City series, which is House of Earth and Blood. I honestly have just been putting this one off because I don't want to start a new series because I'm in the middle of so many series. I feel like I've been talking about that so so much recently, but I do really want to read this by the end of the year. This is a series that I've been wanting to read for a while. I'm a big Sarah J. Maas fan, if you cannot tell. I really enjoyed ACOTAR, and I loved Throne of Glass. I think I finished it in like June or July, and since then I cannot stop thinking about the characters. Like, one of my favorite series of all time at this point, and I don't really know anything about it other than that it is an urban fantasy. And it's a big one, so we'll see if we get to this one in this video. And from all the books that I just showed you, I'm really just gonna be mood reading, so let's go ahead and get into my first pick. The first book off of my 2024 TBR that I wanted to read in this video was 5 Survive. This is by Holly Jackson. She also wrote the Good Girls Guide to Murder series that I read earlier this year, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like they were all very fast paced, and I really loved the way that I felt like a little investigator with Pip, like as she was figuring everything out. I feel like I say this a lot, but if you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know I get scared of quite literally everything. So I don't really read a lot of mysteries or anything like that, but of the YA mysteries that I have read, whenever I feel like I'm up for it, I really enjoy. They're very adrenaline rushing, and they're just so fast paced. I feel like I read them very quickly, and I get very involved and just into the story. Like, it's just a very immersive genre for me, and I really want to start reading more, so that's why I put this on my 2024 TBR. But the biggest reason why I chose this one right now is because I literally have no idea what kind of mood I'm in. I normally read a lot of romance or a lot of fantasy. I'm starting to dip my toes into like literary fiction too as of late, and I have read some YA mysteries, but not enough to know whenever I'm in the mood for it, I feel like. But I'm really not in the mood for a romance, and I am not in the mood for a fantasy. I feel like I'm just in the mood for something quick, action-packed, fast-paced, something with like weird twists and turns and stuff like that, and that's how I felt whenever I was reading the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, like I just said, and that is how I hopefully am gonna feel while reading 5 Survive. I believe this came out around this time last year, and I honestly don't know too much about it, so we're just gonna go ahead and dive right in. Okay, it is time for an update on 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I am about 79 pages in, and I'm about to start chapter 10. And we're basically following our main character, Red, as her and her friends travel for like a spring break trip. They're all driving together in an RV and like staying in that RV for the trip. And obviously, since it is like a mystery thriller type of book, there are things kind of go awry that like stop them from like successfully traveling. Obviously, don't want to say too much of how or why or what exactly is going on, because you do want to be a little bit shocked by the things that are going on, since it is that kind of book. Like, obviously that's what these books are kind of like made for, but I feel like the pacing is nice. I mean, well, besides the first chapter low-key made me feel like I had nothing going on up here at all. Like, I was just like, did I read the first chapter? Because I feel like I got nothing from it, and I was just like entirely confused from it. It honestly kind of felt like whenever authors write something and they're like, ooh, like I did that, like period, like that was good, because it's like wordy or like philosophical or just like romantic, and I don't know. It was just hard to read, plain and simple. That could also just be a me thing, you know. But past the first chapter, I kind of actually got the gist of what was going on. We quickly met our characters. We quickly understood the character dynamics, who's with who, and who acts a certain way, who has this certain type of personality, and just like the dynamics of the group in general, which I feel like is really important, especially considering there are only 6 of them on this trip, and it is called 5 Survive. So I'm guessing somebody from this book dies. Just use my context clues here on that one. And I also think this book takes place over like one day, or maybe like just like a 24-hour period of time. Maybe not like exactly like a Monday, like it might be like a Monday and a Tuesday, because we keep getting pages like this that have a time on it. And I will say the chapters have been pretty short so far. Most of them around 10 or under 10 pages. And then also having those hour marks to kind of break up the book too makes me like more motivated to like read more, because it's kind of like you have like more like mini goals goals, like not just like reading the chapters. So it's like, ooh, like I can read to this hour point, I can read to this hour point, that type of thing. I don't know why, like whenever there's any type of like part breakups in a book, it's just like instantly way more rewarding to me. And when speaking about all the chapters after chapter 1, because I feel like chapter 1 we really just focused on like our main character Red and like honestly a lot of stuff going on inside her head, but after that I felt like we got a lot of good dialogue, which again is like also creating a very fast pace for the story. I love dialogue heavy books. It makes it feel like more like a movie in my head for some odd reason, because I can like really place and pinpoint the characters, and I feel like you learn so much more about characters' personality whenever you get a lot of their dialogue as well, especially the characters that you're not getting the perspectives of. Speaking of characters, I hate Oliver. If you've read this book, you know, literally, I think by the second chapter, by the time I was done with that, I literally could not stand his guts. He's annoying. Like, who told him to act that way? Who told him to, like, whatever? He just feels like this entitled guy who's, like, never been told no in his life, and he just feels, like, disgusting and gross to me, and I just simply can't stand him, personally. This is like my second universe, I guess, by Holly Jackson too, because I read the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. So this is my first time with a different set of characters by her, and I will say I do definitely see a complete and utter difference from the inner dialogue of Red to the inner dialogue of Pip from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I'm really liking, that it wasn't just like copy and paste, because I think that a lot of the times authors tend to do that. They're like, okay, well that character worked then, so we're just gonna rename them and give them a few different like character traits, and then there you go, new book. But Red feels so much more different. Her brain definitely works a lot differently. I'm not really sure exactly what's going on. And she also kind of has a lot of things that she's working through just from her past. So I'm definitely interested to see how all of this plays into everything, if we're gonna get an answer on exactly what's going on up here eventually too. Because I've never really read from a character's perspective of whose mind like really works like this. It's just very interesting. I don't really know how else to explain it. Other than like she gets like distracted very easily, or like she'll remember something that they were talking about like hours and hours ago or like minutes ago and like bring it back into the conversation. Sometimes it's like kind of hard to follow her train of thought for like other people, or like she'll hyperfixate on like certain things. I obviously don't want to say what I think she has, because I have like literally no idea, and I'm not going to diagnose her, because literally who am I to do that? I'm just a girl who reads books in her room. But I do like her so far. I'm glad I'm getting something different in a perspective, instead of just reading about a character who has like nothing really going on and they're just like honestly like a little bit boring and like kind of like a flat character. When talking about the characters though too, some of them are kind of like doing some weird things. There was like quite a few times in particular that I was taking a few different characters like extra long to do like one thing, and I was like, what you doing over there? Like, what are you doing? Come back to the group. Why are we separate for so long? And like the choices that some of them are making might not be the smartest either. They're also like in high school, or like they just got out of high school. They're 18. I think it's like their senior year. But I think it's also like that for like a reason. So like you suspect people, and like you're always kind of like keeping guessing. You're like, why would they do that? Why would they do that? And then like you get answers later, and then it all comes to you, and like you're figuring it out as they're figuring out who it is and exactly what's going on. I honestly have no idea who it is at this point. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I also do like how there's always like a little bit of a subplot of romance in her books too. I just think it's cute, especially because it's YA, and I feel like it just adds something more fun to like the dynamic with all the characters that they're having on this little trip that they're going on. That's like honestly really all I have to say about this so far, since I am only 75 pages in. I obviously can't share too much with you guys because it is a murder mystery, so let's just go ahead and get back into reading. In my first update, I was kind of like, oh, we're getting to know everybody pretty quickly. We're kind of already getting into the story. I know the dynamic of the characters now, all of that kind of stuff. And then we got into like the plot of like the scary part of exactly what's going on. And I kind of felt like it slowed down quite a bit, which it is over the course of one day. So maybe it's the fact that we're not changing our setting at all. Like we're literally just in the RV the entire time that this book is happening. And it's literally just random dialogue and things that are happening with our characters. There have been like a few little interesting things that happen, but there's like this one thing that the like bad guy in this book, I guess, is looking for all of our characters in the RV to do, and like they've just been putting off doing said thing the whole entire time. And there have been a few points that kind of like got my adrenaline going and like made me feel like, yes, this is like a high stakes moment, because like it obviously is. But some other things I was just kind of like, okay, like, can we kind of like get to the point, I guess? Like, I'm on page 250 and I feel like this should have been wrapped up by like 300 pages. It's 386 pages. I feel like that is way too long, and like I've been wanting to read more and like been wanting to figure it out, and we did just get like an interesting tidbit of like something that I wasn't really expecting to happen, I guess. And then we also just did like learn like a secret of like some of the characters in the RV, which was kind of nice. Like, we're slowly starting to get to like what the bad guy actually is like wanting from the people in the RV, so that's something, I guess. I don't really know. I just feel like if I'm reading like a mystery thriller, like I want to be able to not put it down, which I'm finally feeling at page 250, which I guess is a good thing, but also like I feel like I should have been there way earlier than now. So like I'm kind of like just conflicted on my feelings right now, and I felt like I was kind of like vibing there for a little bit. Like, you guys know I get scared of literally everything, so for me to pick up this book at all, that's big for me, and I feel like I should be like shaking in my boots at this point. I guess I just wish there was like more things that happen already, but I feel like we're about to get like to the bulk of that. Okay, I did finish 5 Survive, and I have no idea how I feel about this book yet. I feel like I just really need to sit on it a little bit more, and I will give you like my very final thoughts at the end of this video. I think for me with thriller mysteries, it's really just gonna be hit or miss, especially because I don't really read a lot of them. And also, even though I don't really read a lot of thriller mysteries, I do read other genres. I do read romance and fantasy, and how I rate a romance book versus a fantasy book are completely different. A romance 4-star and a fantasy 4-star are completely different. So I think I just need to really work on like my rating system for mystery books, and I think the more mystery books that I read, I'll be able to work on that. I will say I don't think that this was my favorite, unfortunately, but again, I will be giving my final thoughts at the very end. But I did decide on what book we were going to start next, and from the spread and the books that I showed you at the beginning of this video, I still haven't colored in or updated this yet. I'll probably end up doing it after I'm done with this video so I can do it all at once. We had 7 books left on the list, and honestly, I think I'm in the mood for a romance, and we only have 3 left on here. We have Archer's Voice, Love Redesigned, and Out on a Limb, and I ended up going with Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I've been wanting to read this book for quite a long time, and I feel like so many people who have very similar tastes to me have either rated this 5 stars or rated it very highly. This book has the same trope as one of my other favorite books from this year. Sometimes whenever you read a book that you know other people enjoy who have similar tastes to you, and you're not like in the mood for that certain genre or like the certain tropes in that book or whatever, it can kind of just hinder your reading experience, and I feel like that's happened to me quite a bit this year, honestly. So I wanted to give this book the chance that it really deserved, and I'm really excited to read it today in this vlog. Whenever the hype around this book originally started and I really wanted to read it, I wanted the like original indie cover because I thought it was so cute, and I just loved it so much. But this one is also just super stinking cute. Like, why are they so cute? And I'm really excited. I feel like it's gonna be a nice romance read. Hopefully it's gonna give me like realistic vibes and not be like too cheesy or too rom-com-y. I just want like a real romance book right now with like characters going through real life things, real life struggles, and kind of like leaning on each other in their relationship and stuff. So I'm really hopeful that I'm gonna enjoy this. So let's go ahead and start Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. Okay, it is a lot later in the day. I'm in my cutie little Christmas jammies. I'm so excited. And I'm actually where I normally have my chair. I put it in the other room because I'm going to be filming a read with me, which I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, was the bookmas upload for yesterday. And I've never done a video like that before. So let me know, I guess, in the comments of this video, since I didn't really get to like talk in that video or anything and like ask your guys' feedback, if you guys enjoyed it, if you guys want me to do like longer ones, shorter ones, anything like that, because I already started filming like some of the intro clips for it, like just those aesthetic like shots to kind of lead up to like the reading portion, obviously, which is literally like the entire video. You only have aesthetic shots for like 1 minute, but it's just something different. I've never really done one before, but I do enjoy watching them. I feel like I watch them quite frequently whenever I read, and it's just kind of fun to have like a body doubling moment. So let me know in the comments if you guys enjoyed the read with me and if you guys have any thoughts on it. Now, speaking of the book that I'm currently reading and the book that I'm going to be reading in the read with me, obviously we've been reading Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. Now, the whole story and premise of this book is based around a trope that normally I feel like is a big spoiler for a lot of things, but it literally happens so early on, so I am going to tell you, and that is the pregnancy trope. It's the same trope that is in Reckless by Elsie Silver, which is a book that I love, love, love so much. And the pregnancy trope is a trope that a lot of people do not like whatsoever, but in Reckless it was done right, and I have heard the same thing about this one. And since I love Reckless, it's a 5-star. I was like really, really excited to get into this. I'm currently 134 pages in, about to start chapter 15, and I feel like I am enjoying it so far. I don't really feel like it's to a point where I'm enjoying it a lot more than like usual, or like getting those 5-star feelings or anything like that yet, but I did just start it and get introduced to our characters. Basically in this one, we are following our main character, Wynn, and she meets this guy named Bo at a Halloween party. You can figure out the rest from there. So Wynn gets pregnant and she makes the choice to keep her baby. And I feel like we really just got into the story. Like there was a little bit more setup because of what the general plot of this story is. You kind of had to do that setup to really get into it. Now, Wynn and Bo didn't really like know each other before everything happened, so they don't really know each other at all whenever this thing is happening. And Wynn wants Bo to be a part of their child's life, obviously, so they're reconnecting from that one night, and they're slowly kind of getting to know each other while Wynn is pregnant. So they're kind of going through it a little bit together while also just getting to know each other. And there's actually something that kind of just happened, which I wasn't really expecting, but I don't know why I wasn't, because it's genius and I really like where it's going. And it's kind of got like a little bit of a forced proximity trope kind of thing going on, and I'm really liking that. I feel like Wynn is really going through all the motions that I assume you would go through whenever you find out that you're pregnant, even if you were planning on being pregnant or not. I mean, obviously I've never been pregnant, so I wouldn't really know, but she's questioning it. She's trying to figure out what she wants to do. She's trying to figure out who she is, if she's ready, if she can actually like just do this. But then also thinking about all the exciting things, like what they're gonna be like, what they're going to like, what they're even going to look like, which is just such a exciting feeling, I feel like. And I feel like it's very real. I want to have children someday, and obviously I don't know, because already, like I've said, I've never really had children or been pregnant before, but I assume these are the type of things that you would really think about. So I feel like Hannah Bonham Young is painting like a very realistic scene where those emotions and things that she's going through are regarded. Now, when we come to Bo, oh my gosh, Bo. I feel like I've barely even scratched the surface of who this man is, and I feel like I'm already like going to love him so much. The way he talks to Wynn, the way he treats her, the way he's so excited to have a baby. Not only the fact that he like wants to be a father and be there for the baby, but he really wants to be there for Wynn. And I feel like so far they've had such good banter and some really, really sweet and cute moments, so I'm really excited to keep on reading. And I truly feel like the best is yet to come with this book. So let's go ahead and get back into it. It is the next day, and let me just say, I'm enjoying this book so much. I feel like this past year I've been saying a lot of the same exact thing as I've been reading. I would always talk about how I'm enjoying the characters so much at first and their dynamic and just the little bits about them. And I'd start these books off with so much interest in them and I would be so excited to read them. And then as I kept reading, I would just like slowly decline my interest in the book, in the story, in the characters. I feel like this book has kind of done the exact opposite. Not like I hated it by any means whenever I started out reading it, but as I kept going, I just kept liking it more and more and more. I kept liking Win more and more. I keep liking Bo more and more. Bo in this book, he's a king. Like, he might be up there with some of my favorite book boyfriends now. Like, I don't know if this is gonna be a 5-star. I mean, it could be. Who really knows what's gonna happen? I don't really know. But Bo is just so sweet and kind to her, the way that he talks to her, the way that he really cares about her. And you can tell they both really, really care for each other. But there's an obvious reason as to why they're not saying it and they don't really feel comfortable with speaking up, just because it is kind of like a sticky situation that they're in. And they obviously don't want to ruin their relationship, because then that would be very hard for their child. Not only like whenever the child is born, but for like the next, I mean, like their entire life, technically. I also really like the side characters and what they're adding to the dynamic as well. I feel like it makes you get to know your main characters better whenever you have more side characters around them. And I feel like it's also very dialogue heavy, which I always love. I just absolutely love a lot of dialogue in books personally. I also feel like Hannah Bonham-Young is doing a great job of showing, not telling. Showing what they're doing, showing what they're feeling, showing all their emotions as they're having conversations together. Like, you can really feel the chemistry and like feel their love and admiration for each other off the page, which is always what I'm looking for whenever I'm reading a romance book. I believe in this couple. I want them to be together so bad. I feel like so many of you guys have been telling me to read this for such a long time, and then whenever I finally put it on my monthly TBR for the month of December, you guys were like so excited. You guys were like, oh my gosh, that was my favorite book of the year. This was so good, 5-star. And honestly, like, you guys were right. You guys were right. Oh, didn't realize that changed. Okay, I'm gonna use that as my cue to get back into reading and finish this off. Okay, I have about 10 pages left, so let's go ahead and finish it together. This is so cute. Oh my gosh. This is so sweet. Like, he is so, oh my gosh. Bo is just like such a thoughtful, caring person. Like, I just love him so much. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. This man. Oh my god, like, I'm tearing up. Oh, I can't. That was so like wholesome and sweet and beautiful. That was a really, really good ending. I'm actually so shocked as to how much I enjoyed this, especially like more towards the end. As I was saying earlier, I feel like a lot of books have been starting out like very strong and then like slowly like just going down in the rating and just my enjoyment overall as I kept reading. And this one was the complete opposite. Like I said earlier, like this one did not disappoint. The more I kept reading, the more I just kept feeling connected to them. The more their story just felt real, and just having like all these like real life moments and real life feelings, and the way that they talk about each other and talk to each other was just so good. But wow, I don't know, I'm so happy that I enjoyed this, and like genuinely I feel like I'm slowly but surely getting out of my reading slump, which is great. If this outfit looks familiar, it's because I forgot to film the intro of this video and filmed them in the same day, so that is why. Anyways, getting into my thoughts of the 2 books that we read, we'll go ahead and start with 5 Survive. I will say I'm not entirely certain about my rating and my final thoughts on this book. I think it's just because, like I was saying throughout the video, I don't read a lot of thriller mysteries, so I don't really know exactly how I want to rate it at this point. I'm kind of thinking like a 3 to a 3.5 maybe. I feel like it got my adrenaline rushing, which is what books like this are supposed to do. do, but there were a lot of characters that I didn't enjoy. Honestly, like the plot twist, I guessed a lot. There were just a lot of things that I saw coming, or if it was like prompted, I like instantly guessed it. So I was a little bit disappointed in this. And just like overall, it wasn't really like my favorite read. It's definitely below a 4-star for me. I just don't really know exactly where it's gonna fit in that rating system. And then we have On a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, as you guys saw, and I just yapped about for a little bit. I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was originally going to, which is weird because I've just heard amazing things about it. But again, kind of like I was saying at the beginning of this video about books that are hyped up, I get really nervous to read them sometimes because I'm nervous that I'm not gonna have the same feelings as other people. But literally, like, I get most of my recommendations from you guys in the comments and just people online in general. So I don't know why I didn't think I was gonna enjoy this, because as you saw, I really did. I thought it was a beautiful story. I really enjoyed the way that the pregnancy trope was done in this book. If you don't like the pregnancy trope, I would really recommend this. There are books that I've read that I really cannot stand the pregnancy trope, and there are 2 books, this book and Reckless, like I already talked about during this video probably several times, that I just really did. It was done so right and so beautiful. Beau and Wen are so cute together, and honestly, like, really enjoyed the first epilogue for this book where they're just happy and they're living their life like 10 years later. It was just such like a wholesome and beautiful story, and honestly made me excited for whenever I eventually, years down the line, have my own little family. I think I'm between like a 4.25 to a 4.75, just depending on how much I think about the book. But I feel like it was just really enjoyable, and I highly recommend this if you haven't read it yet. Okay, now that I've read these books that were both on my 24 for 2024, I officially have 6 books left. So hopefully I'll be able to finish those 6 books by the end of the year. I think we can do it. And I have already started one of the other books on the list, and I actually am enjoying it so far. And just looking at the list, I feel like I am in the mood for some of these, so that makes me hopeful and excited that we're gonna get through them all. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you made it until this far in the video, go ahead and comment down below the little plant emoji so I know who the real ones are who watched until the very end. And if you want to keep up with me on the daily, don't forget to follow me on all my socials, TikTok, Instagram, especially Goodreads, since there's no more reading vlogs for the rest of the year. If you want to keep up with what I'm reading in real time for the rest of the year, those are always going to be linked down below in every single video. And yeah, that's really it for me. I cannot believe we only have like 2 days of Bookmas left. That's actually crazy. But I hope you guys have enjoyed Bookmas so far and are all having a great day. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye guys, happy holidays. My battery dies every time I go to film. Oh my god, I am burping up a storm. We have Archer's Vice. No. Peace.